Hello again everyone and welcome back to Skyblock News. I'm your host Derailious and today we're going to be going over the Ironman W's update a little bit further and talk about why some of the features don't really feel like W's at all for the Ironman game mode. Before we begin, I just want to say please make sure to like and subscribe down below as it really helps out the channel a lot, and use code RAIL on the Hypixel store for 5% off your order. Without any further ado though, let's get started. There are a couple things I want to mention about this update at first. The notable things are, A, there are actually a lot of benefits with the Ironman W's update. I love the ability to de-iron. I think that the Shen's auctions that are separate are a step in the right direction, and I also like that they're considering moving stuff like the Spirit Mask away from the Dark Auction. However, a lot of players feel like this is more of an L than a W for the Ironman game mode, and I wanted to go over why and go over a couple of fixes that I don't think would require a crazy amount of admin effort in order to make this just feel a little bit better for players. The first is actually related to the Shen's auction. Now, I don't know if you know this, but the Ironman Shen's auctions have way reduced values in terms of how much is for sale for things like the Artifact of Control, the Pandora's Box, and the Shen's Regalia. Notably, for the Artifact of Control, only 2 are for sale for each sale in general, which is going to push up the prices of these items for Ironman players almost certainly. Only about 132 of these will be sold every single year, which is not very many. Now, I'm not asking for the values to be exactly the same for a normal profile. That wouldn't make a lot of sense if 10 were for sale, but maybe bumping up the 2 to maybe 4 or 5 per sale would be a little bit better than what we have right now, because at the moment, it's just going to make the Ironman experience getting these items just a whole lot worse. There could be some sort of individual tweaking, maybe you want a little bit more in terms of Shen Regalias, and maybe not a lot of Artifact of Controls, but I definitely think the current numbers are a little on the low side, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's going to force Ironman players to do even more grind than a normal profile would for these items. Next, we're over in the Dwarven Mines. I don't have a ton to say here, except that there was a nerf related to Maniac Miner, as you can see. It now caps at 500 mining fortune. This is a nerf to diamond mining. It's not a ridiculously big nerf. People are still able to get 35 million coins an hour. However, doing something like that does feel optically like a nerf to Iron Man. I wouldn't really have a problem with this if the only viable money-making method on Iron Man was not diamond mining. There are not multiple money-making methods here. You're just going to be diamond mining if you're going to be making money efficiently. I think there are definitely other things that could be done here, maybe utilizing, I don't know, the Glaciite Tunnels update to add some more money-making methods for Ironman players. There's a lot they could do theoretically, tweaking some NPC sell prices, maybe adding some different things related to Ironman specifically, but if you just want it to be for everybody, you don't want to give Ironman any sort of specific bonuses, I think there is stuff you could do here in order to tweak the NPC sell prices and make the end game mining area actually the best for money making on Iron Man. I'm going to be honest with you, diamond mining, A, gets boring, and B, is overcrowded. So it's going to lead to situations in which players are just not having a lot of fun doing the only thing they reasonably can to make a lot of money. There are other alternatives here, of course, making things like foraging a little bit better for money, but for now you're not easily able to do that because the last 2 islands of the foraging update are not out yet. If Island 3 of Foraging drops and it doesn't have a good money-making method for Iron Man, though, that will absolutely be a problem. They need to be looking at this from a perspective of how can we add more ways for Iron Men to make similar amounts of money. I'm not asking for a new money-making method that makes 200 million coins an hour, but if there were 5 or 6 money-making methods that made about 30 million coins an hour, that would give more for the average Iron Man player to do, and let's just say they wanted to do fishing, for example, and that made 30 million coins, but they went to the island and there were a ton of people already fishing. Well, they would have other alternatives to make a bunch of money. They wouldn't have to rely on either fishing in an overcrowded zone, or in this case, diamond mining in an overcrowded zone. They could just pick and choose what they wanted to do, which is kind of the entire point of playing a video game. Obviously, there should be some meta thing that makes the most money per hour, that's normal, but for it to be diamond mining up here and then everything else way down below doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Something else I wanted to bring up here, but I don't think they would actually be able to do a lot related to, is the reduction in the coin-based economy. What I mean by this is there's a lot of things in Skyblock that just require coins in order to get, whether that be Jacobus upgrades, things like the Golden Dragon and the Jade Dragon, and just a bunch of other stuff all around the game. I'm not asking for all of those things to be removed and made into something else, but I definitely feel like there's a possibility where some of those things could be converted into resource grinds rather than just directly coin grinds. If an Ironman player gets to choose between making a bunch of money by just diamond mining and grinding an actual interesting resource, they are likely going to choose the resource grind 9 times out of 10, and it's just leading to a more interesting style of gameplay rather than just doing the same thing over and over again. I don't know what you would do for some of these numbers. Obviously, you would have to make those resource grinds make a lot of sense and be logical, but I definitely think there's opportunities to do so, and I think even some of this could involve the Ironman Guild in some way. It was kind of interesting coming here, but there isn't a lot to actually do. You just talk to Ian if you want to make an Ironman profile, and the other two NPCs don't do a lot. Maybe they could do something related to changing around some of those coin grinds into resource grinds. I don't know. You could probably think of something, but that would probably require a whole separate update. My last major point here is related to the Dark Auction. Now, they've already made a good step in the right direction with regard to the Spirit Mask. They want to move that out of the Dark Auction and over to Master Mode Floor 4. However, I do think you can go a little bit further with this, probably moving the other 3 artifacts there, the Nether Artifact, the Wither Artifact, and the Ender Artifact, out of the Dark Auction and to places that probably make a little bit more sense. The Ender Artifact, I think, should just be fully moved over to the Enderman Slayer, have it start out as a talisman and then move up the chain as you level up with the Slayer. It can have a resource grind associated with it. It doesn't need to be cheap or anything like that, just anything is better than what it is right now. Let players actually earn it and get those rewards because it is really useful for Enderman Slayer. The Nether Artifact could be from either just natural Crimson Isle grinding or Blaze Slayer, either or I think would be totally fine, and the Wither Artifact can just come from Floor 7 as a drop, or just a resource grind once again. Nothing too crazy, nothing too out of the ordinary, but I think moving those items out of the Dark Auction would just be better for everybody. I don't think anyone would be too opposed to something like that unless you're just making a ton of money flipping those items. Aside from that, though, I think the Dark Auction will be generally in a much better state once those items are moved out of there, as well as the Spirit Mask change, which is really, really good to see. I'm just generally hoping that they move a little bit more in the direction of resource grinds in the future rather than coin sinks. I once again want to make clear I don't think Ironman W's is all bad or all negative. I think a lot of what's in the update is actually fine. It's just that the Maniac Miner change feels like a nerf, and I can understand Ironman players feeling like they were promised something a little bit more than what they actually got. Obviously, Ironman W's was never going to be this massive mega update. They never talked it up like that. But I think a lot of players were hoping for more genuine change, and I hope that the stuff I talked about in this video would be a little bit more of a step in the right direction. A lot of players are concerned about stuff like inflation, for example. They don't want to add more money-making methods to Ironman, because what if a normal profile uses them, and what if there's inflation? But recently, the Skyblock economy has been in a major state of deflation. Prices have been going down across the board, and stuff like the Maniac Miner nerf, as well as the nerf to Enchanted Hoppers, will definitely continue to lower prices for pretty much all goods in the game. I think something can absolutely be done here without creating huge amounts of inflation. I'm not asking for ridiculous huge changes that will just pump the price of coins up to the moon. I don't think that will happen with pretty much anything I've discussed here, but I would love to hear what you guys think about a lot of these things in the comments down below. I'm just hoping they make a little bit more of a change to the Ironman game mode to make the experience better for those players. I don't even play on an Ironman for the most part. I barely interact with the features there, but I do think those players who have deserve a little bit better. At the end of the day, though, my name's Derailious. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end, and look to the future, fellas. I'll see you then.